The following programming is EI, educational and informative.
Today on Mystery Hunters.
We're on the trail of some monsters you definitely don't want in your closet.
I uncover skeletons in Prague that might be the remains of vampires.
The vampires, they were really everywhere.
And if they were vampires, could there be more of them around?
And I look for a legendary monster called Inkanyamba.
It's a very dangerous beast.
There was this huge snake-like creature came out of the water.
If there's a monster hiding under this waterfall, I'm gonna find it. I definitely saw something. And Doubting Dave shows you a few cool ways to make your friends think you are a vampire. This is Mystery Hunters.
We'll be right back with more Mystery Hunters. We now return to Mystery Hunters.
I'm patrolling the streets of Prague. And what I'm looking for only comes out at night. This is the time of the vampire. During the Middle Ages, pretty much everyone believed in vampires. It was just a normal part of life. But now, hundreds of years later, someone might have dug up proof that they actually exist. Sorry, why are we stopping? A man was working in his backyard near here when he discovered something that horrified him. He found skeletons that were so strange that people thought they might be vampires. The skeletons were taken away by the archaeologists pretty quickly, but I did some digging of my own and found out where they are. Can you take me to the museum, please, and step on it? This is good, too. The public's not usually allowed down here. But as a mystery hunter, I get special access. Ahoy, Vitorius.
Hello. Už tady na tebe čekám.
Am I about to see the bones of a vampire? Vampire bones. Wow, imagine finding this while you're doing a little gardening. This is Dr. Spacek. He examined the skeletons after they were found. So, how many skeletons were found in the grave? He tells me 14 altogether. Could that be 14 vampires? And why do we think these skeletons are that of a vampire? He says the heads were removed from the bodies and the arms tied. That's what was done in those days if people thought someone was a vampire. The idea was to keep them from rising from the dead. Does that prove that they were vampires? He tells me that it proves that the people of that time thought they were. Maybe they knew what they were talking about. If there were vampires back then, there may still be some around now. Most of what I know about vampires comes from old movies I used to watch. But outside of the costume shops, I doubt that vampires ever looked like this. So, I called someone who really knows about what terrorized the streets of Prague late at night.
Hi, Christina.
Hey, Giuseppe. Dr. Giuseppe Milo has studied the local vampire legends. If there are any more vampires sleeping in their graves, he may be able to tell me how to find them.
You know, in these lands, the vampires, they were really everywhere.
The legends say that the vampires would come out of their graves to attack the living, and the people of the Middle Ages were very afraid of that happening.
For example, you were a strange person. The people, they thought that when you died, you became a vampire.
And they would do all kinds of things to make sure that the vampires stayed buried.
Very, very usual was to put away the head from the body.
But maybe they didn't get them all. Maybe I can find a living vampire. Is there any way to tell if someone who's buried is a vampire?
Yes, there were some ways, but the most common way, for example, was to lead a horse in a graveyard.
The old stories say that horses are very sensitive to vampires, and if the horse acts strangely...
And to refuse, for example, to cross a grave. In this case, the people, they were sure that on that grave, there was a vampire.
Are there vampires still sleeping underground, waiting for the right moment to crawl out of their graves? I'm at the cemetery, and I brought a friend. If I find a grave that he won't step over, does that mean we found a vampire? Oh my gosh, he stopped. Maybe this is a vampire grave. Okay, I'm checking it out. Hold on. Maybe I'll be able to hear him moving around in there.
When the weather changes in Howick, South Africa, it might not always be from natural causes. It could be because of something that lives in here. Legend has it there's a lake monster near Howick Falls that can make it rain when it gets angry. It's called Inkanyamba. And it gets especially mad when people see it. This is Kwanda Ndulu. He's from the Zulu tribe, and they know a lot about the Inkanyamba.
It can change the weather in a way that you can get like a huge storm, really strong winds that can like blow houses. It's a very dangerous beast.
Sounds impossible? I thought so too, until I found someone who saw him. Can you tell me what you saw at Howick Falls?
Okay, it was early in the morning, around about 7:30. Normally, I come down here to have a look before I start work. And as I looked over the edge of the falls from the viewing platform, there was this huge snake-like creature came out of the water. For a few seconds, then it slipped back down into the water again.
Well, how big was it?
Must have been about 5 or 6 meters long.
5, 6 meters. I asked Bob to stand 6 meters away from me.
5, 6, but that's
Man,
about the size of it.
That's a big creature. As big as a giant shark. Or a killer whale. What makes you think that it was the Inkanyamba?
Well, the Inkanyama means the rain snake in Zulu.
The rain snake?
They say that whenever you see the Inkanyama, the weather will change and there will be floods, and that's exactly what happened.
Bob said as soon as he saw it, a huge thunderstorm came up, and he ran for his life.
I didn't actually take this picture myself.
After Bob Teeny saw the Inkanyamba, he put an ad in the local newspaper and offered a reward for a picture of the monster. A few days later, someone sent in this photograph. That's huge. Bob Teeny says that he saw the giant creature at the bottom of this waterfall. Can you help me get to the bottom of the falls? I'm gonna head down there. Only thing is, it sure is a long way down. I'm about to go over the edge. It's a vertical drop. No sign of anything yet, but this is one crazy ride. Wait a minute, there is something in the water. I see it.
So far, no one has proven that a lake monster can make it rain. But while we're waiting, I got an email from 11-year-old Jennifer Flack of Austin, Texas, about another way to make rain. Take a look. You got me. Take a look on the Mystery Illustrator. Dear Doubting Dave, it's summer where I live, and it hasn't rained in over a month. All the grass is turning brown because we're not allowed to water it. But I heard scientists can make it rain. If that's true, could they make it rain here? Well, Jennifer, scientists have figured out a way to make it rain, and they don't need a lake monster to do it.
Oh.
But they do need clouds. All clouds are made up of tiny water droplets. In fact, they're so tiny, it would take millions of them to form a single raindrop. But a cloud only rains if the air around it is warm enough or wet enough for the teeny droplets to combine into bigger drops. Then, they drop. So how can scientists make a cloud rain? They sprinkle a few basic ingredients in it that turn the tiny drops into bigger drops. It's called cloud seeding, and it's used to help farmers when they don't have enough water to grow their crops, to reduce fog near airports so that airplanes can take off and land safely, and even to make a little extra snow at ski resorts. Of course, there are plenty of places in the world that still need water, but so far, scientists can't make rain out of thin air. They can only squeeze it out of clouds. Although after today's research, that's more than I can say for lake monsters.
We'll be right back with more Mystery Hunters. We now return to Mystery Hunters.
These might be the skeletons of vampires that were prevented from coming back to life by having their heads removed. Could there be live vampires hiding underground in this cemetery? The legend says that a horse can sense the presence of a vampire. If he refuses to walk across one of these graves, that might mean there's a vampire at my feet. Okay, now tell me if you see anything or you feel anything weird. I'm counting on you. It's not time to eat. We have to go look for vampires. Come on. Okay, we'll eat later. Maybe we should try some older graves over there. Yeah, come on. Oh my gosh, you won't go further. Could there be someone or something down there? Do you feel anything? Hold on. Maybe if I put my ear to the ground, I'll hear it moving around under there. Maybe the vampires are all just out of their graves, walking around.
To illuminate and warm the circle, they call upon light and fire.
Bingo.
Is there a monster in this lake that can make it rain? This man says he's seen it. And I think I just saw something down there too. I guess I'm going in for a closer look. It's pretty murky down here. I guess he could be anywhere. Oh, what's up, dude? See anything fishy? Something touched my leg.
I definitely saw something. And I think I have proof.
And I know just the person to take it to. Greg, I was swimming near Halleck Falls. Do you have any idea what this could be?
Yeah, I've got an idea.
Inkanyamba?
Would you feel like taking another swim?
Sure. What's he trying to show me?
If vampires exist, You don't have to be scared of them. Because vampires never attack other vampires. So I'm going to show you 2 great tricks that will make everyone think you're a vampire, even other vampires. Trick number 1. Pulse of the vampire. Anytime a vampire appears, stop whatever you happen to be doing and ask him to check your pulse. When he does, he won't feel anything, and he'll think you're a vampire too. So how do you do it? Keep a soft rubber ball with you at all times, and when you want to do this trick, secretly wedge the ball into your armpit. Of course, you might have to be sneakier about it when there's a vampire watching. Once the ball is in place, check your pulse. It should still feel normal, but when you press your armpit against the ball, you feel your pulse slowly fade away until it's gone, just like a vampire. Trick number 2, head of the vampire. If you sense there's a vampire nearby, start stretching your neck like it's stiff and say, "Man, ever since I was beheaded, my neck has really been giving me trouble." That should get the vampire's attention, because even if he's never been beheaded, he might know other vampires who have. Now prove you were beheaded like this. I'd better make sure it's screwed on tight. That should be enough to convince the vampire you're one of them. What's the secret? Find a box that's bigger than your head and carefully cut out a window from the side. Now put the box over your head so you can see out the window, and you're ready for your trick. Slowly turn the box while you turn your head the same way. But as soon as the person in front of you can't see your face anymore, keep turning the box with your hands while your head turns back the other way. When the window gets back to your face, start turning your head with the box again until you end up where you began. From the front, it looks like your head turns all the way around, as only a vampire could do. And there you have it. With those 2 tricks, you'll never have to be scared of vampires again. Next week, werewolves.
We'll be right back with more Mystery Hunters. We now return to Mystery Hunters.
I caught a glimpse of something big near Howick Falls. Was it the rain-making lake monster, Inkanyamba? To find out, I have to take one more swim. This isn't a lake monster. It's an eel. But it's pretty big, too. I guess that's what I took a picture of. Well, that was pretty cool, Greg. Do you think they have eels like this around Howick Falls?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, how big do you think they get?
5-6 feet.
That's less than half the length of the serpent Bob Teeny saw. Maybe whatever Bob saw was just smaller than he thought. It was a long way from where he was. He might have made a mistake. So do you think this could be an eel?
Nah, that's a prehistoric sea creature called a plesiosaur. There were never any of those around here, not even millions of years ago.
So the photos are fake?
Most likely.
Maybe whoever cooked it up just wanted the reward money Bob was offering. It sounds like the serpent Bob Teeny saw was probably just a regular eel. In fact, Greg told me that eels do jump out of the water sometimes. As for the thunderstorms after Bob's sighting,
The weather will change and there will be floods, and that's exactly what happened.
he saw the serpent in October, and that's the beginning of the rainy season here. So it might have just been a coincidence. Whether the monster is real or not, stories like this sure make Howick Falls an exciting place to visit. Personally, I'd say that's worth a little rain.
Hundreds of years ago, people thought these were the skeletons of vampires. So they buried them with their heads removed to keep them from climbing out of their graves and attacking people. But were they really vampires? If I could find living vampires today, that would prove it. And maybe I just did.
I call upon light and water in the west to illuminate and cleanse this circle.
Are you guys vampires?
No, we're pagans.
What are pagans?
Pagans are people who believe in multiple gods, many energies, and we believe in magic.
So these people aren't vampires. They just have a religion that seems different to some of us. Could those bones in the grave be the bones of pagans too?
In the old days, people were very superstitious, and they believed that people who were different were to be feared. And so pagans were different people, and they were blamed for all sorts of things, diseases and things that would go missing. And so they were outcast oftentimes.
So if someone seemed strange in life, they wouldn't trust them in death. They would dig them up and make sure they wouldn't come back as a vampire. Too bad people were so superstitious back then, or they might have found out that pagans are actually fun people to hang out with. Well, I like this ceremony.
To Christina, with her open mind and a plant a stake in our hearts.
It looks like the people buried in that grave weren't vampires. They just acted differently. And even after all of these years, there's still no proof that vampires exist. Oh, not this again. Sorry, why are we stopping?
Things aren't always what they seem.
Araya! Well, I guess I will not be needing this anymore.